Welcome back to Rare Coin HQ. Today we're uncovering some of the most extremely rare and valuable Washington quarters ever discovered. These coins may look like ordinary pocket change, but a few rare examples have sold for thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. Hidden mint errors, unusual details, and rare dates have turned these simple quarters into incredible collector treasures. So before you spend your next quarter, take a closer look, because one of these valuable coins could be hiding in your change right now. Let's get started. First up, we take a closer look at a coin that millions of Americans used in everyday life but that collectors still examine very carefully today. This is the 1980 Washington quarter with a D mint mark, found in circulated condition after years of use in regular commerce. At first glance, the coin may look ordinary and worn. The surface appears dull, with scratches and small marks spread across the metal. The once bright shine that the coin had when it left the mint is now gone, replaced by a softer and aged appearance. The 1980 Washington quarter was produced during a time when the United States Mint was making huge numbers of coins for daily transactions. Quarters were used constantly in vending machines, laundromats, parking meters, and small purchases. Because of this heavy use, many coins from this period spent decades moving from hand to hand before finally being saved by collectors. The coin carries the classic Washington quarter design, which was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of the first President of the United States, George Washington. The design proved so popular that it remained in use for many decades, becoming one of the most recognized coins in American currency. On the front of the coin, also called the obverse, we see the portrait of George Washington facing to the left. Above his head appear the words "In God We Trust," which is the national motto placed on American coins. The word Liberty curves along the top edge of the coin, while the date 1980 is positioned below the portrait. Just next to the date is an important small detail, the D mint mark ***. This tiny letter tells collectors that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Mint marks help identify the location where a coin was made. During this time, quarters were mainly produced at two major facilities, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Coins from Philadelphia during many earlier years did not carry a mint mark, while Denver used the letter D. Mint marks matter to collectors because production numbers were different at each mint. Some years had lower production at one facility compared to another. When that happens, coins from the smaller mint run can sometimes become more desirable. Turning the coin over reveals the reverse design of the Washington quarter. At the center stands a powerful image of an eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle clutches a bundle of arrows in its talons, symbolizing strength and readiness to defend the nation. Beneath the eagle are olive branches representing peace. Above the eagle appear the words United States of America, while the denomination quarter dollar sits below. Looking closely at the condition of this particular coin, it clearly shows the effects of long circulation. The highest points of the design, especially on Washington's hair and cheek area, appear slightly flattened from repeated contact with other coins. Small scratches, scuffs, and tiny dents cover much of the surface. These marks are common for coins that have spent years moving through pockets, cash drawers, and machines. The fields, which are the flat areas of the coin, also show visible wear. On the reverse side, the eagle's feathers appear less detailed than they would on a freshly minted coin. Years of friction gradually soften these details. Small nicks and scratches can also be seen across the eagle and surrounding areas. Another noticeable feature is the lack of mint luster. When coins are newly struck at the mint, they usually have a bright and reflective shine known as mint luster. This shine comes from the microscopic lines created during the striking process. Over time, as coins circulate and rub against other surfaces, that shine slowly fades away. This particular coin now shows a dull appearance that reflects its long life in circulation. Most circulated 1980 Washington quarters *** are considered common coins because large numbers were produced. In average worn condition, they are usually worth close to their face value. However, collectors still pay attention to this date because certain mint errors and rare varieties can significantly increase a coin's value. During the minting process, coins are struck at high speeds using powerful machines. Occasionally something goes wrong and those mistakes create unusual coins. One type of error collectors look for is a doubled die, where the letters or numbers appear doubled due to a misalignment during die creation. Another possibility is an off-center strike. This happens when the metal blank is not perfectly aligned in the press. The design may appear shifted to one side, leaving a blank area on the coin. Off-center coins that still show the full date are especially interesting to collectors. There are also cases where coins are struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the metal blank intended for another denomination was accidentally used. These mistakes are extremely rare and can make a coin highly valuable. Because of possibilities like these, collectors carefully inspect coins even when they look worn or ordinary. A small detail hidden within the design can sometimes reveal a rare mint error. Rare error examples from the 1980 Washington quarter have reached impressive prices in the collector market. Some authenticated error coins have sold for $30,000, $60,000, and in certain dramatic cases even over $120,000 depending on the rarity and condition of the error. That is why experienced collectors never ignore older quarters. Even coins that look scratched, dull, or heavily circulated can still hold surprises. This 1980 Washington quarter with the D mint mark represents a small piece of modern American history. It traveled through everyday life, used in purchases, vending machines, and countless small transactions. The scratches, wear, and dull surface are reminders of the long journey it took through circulation. And while most coins from this year remain simple pieces of pocket change, a few rare examples remind collectors that sometimes the most ordinary-looking quarter can still hide an extraordinary story. Next up, we take a closer look at another coin that many people have seen in everyday pocket change but that collectors still examine very carefully. This is the 1982 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, found today in heavily circulated condition. At first glance, the coin may appear worn, dull, and ordinary. The surface shows clear signs of long use in commerce, and much of the original shine has faded away. Small scratches, marks, and flattened details across the design tell the story of a coin that spent many years moving from hand to hand. The 1982 Washington quarter belongs to one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The design became extremely popular and remained in use for decades, making it one of the most recognizable coins in American currency. On the front of the coin, known as the obverse, we see the portrait of George Washington facing toward the left. The word Liberty curves across the top edge of the coin. Just below Washington's portrait appears the phrase "In God We Trust," the national motto of the United States. The date 1982 is placed beneath the portrait near the bottom of the coin. Next to the date is a small but important detail, the P mint mark. This letter tells collectors that the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years in the past, coins made in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. However, beginning in the late 20th century, most Philadelphia coins started including the letter P to identify their origin. Mint marks are important in coin collecting because they show where a coin was produced. Different mints sometimes produce different quantities of coins each year. When production numbers are lower at a certain mint, those coins can sometimes become harder to find and more valuable to collectors. Turning the coin over to the reverse side, we see the traditional design used on Washington quarters for many decades. At the center of the coin stands a powerful eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle holds a bundle of arrows in its talons, symbolizing strength and the nation's ability to defend itself. Beneath the eagle are olive branches which represent peace. Above the eagle appear the words United States of America, while the denomination quarter dollar appears along the bottom edge. This design remained on the quarter until the late 1990s when the United States Mint introduced the famous State Quarter series. Looking closely at the condition of this specific coin, we can clearly see that it has experienced heavy circulation. The high points of Washington's portrait, including his hair and cheekbone, appear flattened and worn. These areas are the first parts of the coin to lose detail because they come into contact with other coins during circulation. Across the surface of the coin there are numerous small scratches, nicks, and marks. These are common signs of wear for coins that spent many years being used in everyday transactions. The flat areas of the coin, known as the fields, also show scuffs and contact marks. Another noticeable feature is the lack of original mint luster. When coins are first struck at the mint, they have a bright shine caused by the way light reflects off the newly struck metal. As coins circulate and rub against other objects, that shine slowly disappears. This coin now has a dull appearance that reflects its long time in circulation. Even though the coin is heavily worn, the most important features are still visible. The date 1982, the word Liberty, and the portrait of George Washington can still be recognized. This means the coin can still be easily identified and studied by collectors. Most circulated 1982 P Washington quarters are considered common coins because large numbers were produced and released into circulation. In heavily worn condition, they are usually worth close to their face value of 25 cents. However, Collectors still pay attention to coins from this year because mint errors and rare varieties can dramatically increase a coin's value. During the minting process, quarters are struck at extremely high speeds by powerful machines. Occasionally something goes wrong during this process, creating unusual coins that are highly desirable to collectors. One type of error collectors watch for is a doubled die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin receives a slightly misaligned second impression during its creation. As a result, parts of the design such as letters or numbers may appear doubled. Another interesting possibility is an off-center strike. This occurs when the metal blank is not perfectly aligned inside the coin press. When the coin is struck, part of the design appears shifted to one side, leaving an empty area on the opposite side. There are also rare cases where a coin may be struck on the wrong metal planchet. When this happens, the coin might have a different color, weight, or thickness than a normal quarter. These errors are extremely rare and highly valuable. Because of possibilities like these, collectors often examine even worn coins carefully. A small detail hidden within the design can sometimes reveal a rare minting mistake. Some rare 1982p Washington quarter error coins have sold for impressive prices in the collector market. Depending on the rarity and strength of the error, values for certain examples have reached $20,000, $65,000, and in exceptional cases even $130,000 at auction. This possibility is why coin collectors continue searching through old change, coin rolls, and inherited collections. Even a coin that appears worn and ordinary at first glance could still hold a hidden surprise. The 1982 Washington quarter with the P mint mark is a reminder that every coin has a story. It traveled through years of everyday transactions, witnessing countless moments of daily life. The scratches, worn details, and dull surfaces show the long journey it has taken. And while most coins from this year remain simple pieces of pocket change, a few rare examples continue to prove that sometimes an ordinary-looking quarter can become an extraordinary discovery worth thousands of dollars. Next up, we take a closer look at a coin that many people have probably seen in their pocket change but that collectors still examine very carefully today. This is the 1983 Washington quarter with a P mint mark ***, found in heavily circulated condition with visible scratches across the surface. At first glance, the coin may look worn and ordinary. The surface shows clear signs of long use, with scratches, small dents, and a dull appearance that replaced the bright shine it once had when it left the mint. The 1983 Washington quarter comes from an interesting period in modern U.S. coin history. During the early 1980s, the United States Mint was producing large numbers of quarters for everyday transactions. These coins were used constantly in stores, vending machines, parking meters, and public transportation systems. Because of this heavy use, many quarters from this time circulated for years before being saved by collectors. The Washington quarter design itself has a long history. It was first introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first President of the United States. The design quickly became one of the most recognizable images on American coins and remained in circulation for decades. On the front of the coin, also known as the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of George Washington facing to the left. Above his head appears the word Liberty, which curves along the top edge of the coin. Just below the portrait are the words "In God We Trust," the national motto that appears on U.S. currency. Beneath Washington's image is the date 1983. Next to the date is a small but important detail, the P mint mark ***. This letter tells collectors that the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years, Philadelphia coins did not carry a mint mark, but beginning in the late 20th century, the mint started adding the letter P to many denominations. This change helped collectors identify the exact mint where a coin was produced. Mint marks are important in coin collecting because different mints often produce different numbers of coins. Some years had lower production at certain facilities, making those versions more desirable. Because of this, collectors always check the mint mark area carefully when examining a coin. Turning the coin over reveals the reverse design of the Washington quarter. At the center is a powerful image of an eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle holds a bundle of arrows in its talons, representing strength and the nation's readiness to defend itself. Beneath the arrows are olive branches, symbolizing peace. Above the eagle appear the words United States of America, while the denomination quarter dollar appears below. Looking closely at the condition of this particular coin, it clearly shows signs of heavy circulation. The high points of the design, especially on Washington's hair and cheek, appear flattened from years of contact with other coins. Small scratches and marks cover much of the surface. These scratches are especially noticeable in the flat areas of the coin, known as the fields. On the reverse side, the eagle also shows signs of wear. Some of the feather details appear softened, and there are visible scuffs and scratches around the design. This type of wear is very common for coins that spent many years in everyday commerce. Another noticeable feature is the lack of mint luster. When coins are first struck at the mint, they usually have a bright reflective shine caused by the microscopic texture of the metal. Over time, as coins move through pockets, registers, and machines, that shine slowly fades away. This coin now shows a dull surface that reflects its long history of circulation. Although a heavily circulated 1983 p quarter may appear ordinary, collectors still pay attention to this date. One reason is that the 1983 quarters were not widely saved when they were first released ***. During that time, very few people set aside uncirculated examples, which means high-grade coins from this year are harder to find today. Another reason collectors examine these coins closely is the possibility of mint errors. During the minting process, coins are struck by powerful machines operating at very high speeds. Occasionally mistakes happen, and those mistakes can create rare coins. For example, collectors sometimes find doubled die varieties, where the lettering or design elements appear doubled because of a misalignment during the die-making process. Other coins may show off-center strikes, where the design appears shifted toward one side because the coin blank was not perfectly aligned. In rare situations, coins may even be struck on the wrong type of metal blando known as a wrong planchet error. These coins can look unusual in color or weight and are extremely rare. Because of these possibilities, collectors often examine even worn coins very carefully. A small detail hidden in the design could reveal something special. Some rare 1983 p Washington quarter error coins **** have surprised collectors with strong auction prices. Dramatic mint errors from this year have been known to sell for $25,000, $70,000, and in exceptional cases even $130,000 depending on the rarity of the error and the overall condition of the coin. That possibility is why coin collectors never completely ignore a worn quarter. Even coins with scratches and heavy circulation marks can still hold unexpected surprises. This 1983 Washington quarter with the P mint mark **** is a small reminder of how coins quietly travel through everyday life. It may have passed through stores, vending machines, and countless pockets over the years. The scratches, dull surface, and worn details tell the story of its long journey through circulation. And while most examples remain simple pieces of everyday currency, the possibility of rare varieties means that somewhere out there, another 1983 quarter could still be waiting to reveal a hidden value worth tens of thousands of dollars. Next up, we take a closer look at a coin that many people have seen countless times in everyday change but that collectors still examine carefully. This is the 1984 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, found today in an old, heavily used, and dirty circulated condition. At first glance, the coin may not look impressive. The surface appears dull and dark, with visible dirt and grime built up over years of circulation. Scratches, small dents, and worn details cover much of the design, giving the coin an aged and rough appearance. The 1984 Washington quarter comes from a period when the United States Mint was producing huge numbers of coins to keep up with everyday demand. Quarters were one of the most widely used coins in the country. People used them for vending machines, parking meters, laundromats, arcade games, and small purchases in stores. Because of this constant use, many quarters from the 1980s circulated for years before eventually ending up in coin jars or collections. The design on the quarter is one of the longest-running designs in American coin history. It was first introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design quickly became one of the most recognized images in American currency and continued to be used for decades. On the front of the coin, also called the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of George Washington facing to the left. Above his head is the word Liberty ***, which curves along the upper edge of the coin. Just below the portrait are the words "I in God we trust," the national motto. Beneath Washington's image appears the date 1984. Next to the date is a small but important detail that collectors always look for, the P Mint mark. This letter tells us that the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years the Philadelphia Mint did not place mint marks on coins, but later the letter P was added to help identify the mint location. Other quarters from this time could also come from the Denver Mint ***, which used the letter D. Mint marks are important because they show where a coin was made. Different mints often produce different numbers of coins in a given year. Sometimes one mint produces fewer coins than another, which can make those versions more desirable for collectors. Because of this, Collectors always check the mint mark area carefully when examining a coin. Turning the coin over reveals the reverse design of the Washington quarter. At the center of the coin stands a powerful eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle holds a bundle of arrows in its claws, symbolizing strength and the ability of the nation to defend itself. Beneath the arrows are olive branches which represent peace. Around the eagle appear the words United States of America, and at the bottom is the denomination quarter dollar. Looking closely at the condition of this particular coin, it clearly shows many signs of long circulation. The surface appears dirty and darkened from years of exposure to different environments. Small scratches and scuff marks are visible across the coin, especially in the flat areas known as the fields. These marks are typical for coins that have been handled frequently. The high points of the design also show wear. On the obverse, Washington's hair and facial features appear flattened compared to how the coin looked when it was first struck. On the reverse, some of the eagle's feather details are worn down from years of contact with other coins. Another important detail is the lack of mint luster. When coins are newly minted, they have a bright reflective shine known as mint luster. This shine is created when the metal is struck by the dies at the mint. Over time, constant handling and friction remove this shine, leaving the coin with a dull and aged appearance. That is exactly what we see on this coin today. Although a dirty and heavily circulated 1984 P quarter ** may not look valuable at first glance, collectors still study coins from this year carefully. One reason is the possibility of mint errors. During the minting process, coins are struck at very high speeds by powerful machines. Occasionally something goes wrong and those mistakes can create rare and collectible coins. For example, collectors sometimes discover double die errors, where parts of the design such as letters or numbers appear doubled because of a problem during the die creation process. Another possibility is an off-center strike, where the coin was not properly aligned during minting, causing the design to appear shifted to one side. There are also rare cases where coins are struck on the wrong metal blank, known as a wrong planchet error. These mistakes are extremely rare and can make a coin highly valuable to collectors. Because of possibilities like these, many collectors examine even worn coins carefully before spending them. A small detail hidden in the design can sometimes reveal a rare error that dramatically increases the value of a coin. Some rare 1984 P Washington quarter error coins ** have reached impressive prices at auctions and collector markets. Dramatic mint error examples have been known to sell for $25,000, $65,000, and in exceptional cases more than $120,000 depending on the rarity of the mistake and the condition of the coin. That is why experienced collectors never completely ignore older quarters, even when they look worn, dirty, or scratched. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking coin can still hide something special. This 1984 Washington quarter with the P mint mark may appear old and heavily used, but it still carries a small piece of American history. It traveled through stores, machines, and countless pockets during the 1980s and beyond. The scratches, dirt, and worn surfaces are reminders of its long journey through everyday life. And somewhere among the millions of quarters produced that year, a few rare examples continue to surprise collectors with values that can reach tens of thousands of dollars. Let's slow things down for a moment and take a deep look at a coin that most people would normally overlook. Sitting quietly among everyday pocket change is a coin that has traveled through decades of American life. Today we are talking about the 1985 Washington quarter with a D mint mark ***, a coin that has clearly spent many years moving through stores, cash registers, vending machines, and people's pockets. The example we are looking at today is in heavily circulated condition. It is not shiny or perfectly preserved. Instead, the coin tells a story through its wear. The surface shows scratches, the fine details are softened, and the once bright metal has faded into a dull gray tone. But sometimes coins like this are the most interesting ones to study, because they have lived real lives in everyday commerce. To understand this coin, we first need to look at the design itself. The Washington quarter has been one of the most recognizable coins in the United States for nearly a century. It first appeared in 1932, created to honor the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The design was created by the sculptor John Flanagan, whose portrait of Washington has remained a symbol of American coinage for generations. On the front of the coin, also called the obverse, we see Washington's profile facing to the left. Above his head is the word liberty, one of the most important ideals in American history. Below the portrait appear the words "I in God we trust," which has appeared on U.S. coins for many decades. Beneath Washington's neck sits the date 1985, showing the year the coin was struck. But right next to the date there is a tiny detail that collectors always look for. That detail is the D mint mark. This small letter tells us that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Mint marks may look small, but they are extremely important in coin collecting. They help identify exactly where a coin was produced. In the United States, several mints have produced coins throughout history. The most famous include the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Each mint produces different quantities of coins each year. Because of this, the mint mark can sometimes make a huge difference in a coin's rarity and value. A coin from one mint might be very common, while the same coin from another mint could be much harder to find. Turning the coin over to the reverse side, we see one of the most powerful images in American coin design. At the center stands a large eagle with its wings fully spread. The eagle is a long-standing national symbol of the United States. In its claws, the eagle holds a bundle of arrows, representing strength and the nation's readiness to defend itself. Beneath the arrows are olive branches, which symbolize peace. Around the eagle are several inscriptions. At the top we see the words United States of America, proudly identifying the country that issued the coin. Just below the eagle appears the denomination $quarter, telling us that the coin represents 25 cents. When this coin first left the mint in 1985, it would have looked very different. Newly minted quarters shine with a bright metallic luster created by the powerful pressure of minting machines striking the design into the metal. The surface would have been smooth and reflective, and every small detail of Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers would have been clearly visible. However, the coin we are looking at today has changed dramatically over time. Because it has been in heavy circulation, the high points of the design have slowly worn down. On the front, Washington's cheekbone, hairline, and jawline appear flatter than they once did. On the reverse, many of the eagle's feather details have softened after years of friction with other coins. The surface also shows numerous scratches and small dents. These marks come from constant contact with other coins and objects. Every time a coin slides across a counter, falls into a cash register drawer, or moves through a coin machine, it picks up tiny marks. Another thing we notice is the lack of mint luster. The bright shine that coins have when they are new slowly disappears as the coin circulates. Oils from human hands, exposure to air, and constant friction all play a role in dulling the surface. Despite these signs of age, coins like this are still very interesting to collectors. One reason is that 1985 was a busy year for quarter production. Millions of quarters were struck to meet the needs of everyday commerce across the United States. Yet even with such large numbers, collectors know that rare varieties and mint errors can still appear. During the minting process, coins are struck by extremely powerful machines that press metal blanks between engraved dies. These machines operate at very high speeds, producing thousands of coins every hour. Occasionally something goes wrong during this process. One possible error collectors search for is a double die ***. This happens when the die used to strike coins receives a misaligned impression during its creation. As a result, certain parts of the design, such as letters or numbers, appear doubled. Another type of error is an off-center strike ***. This occurs when the blank coin is not perfectly positioned during the strike. When this happens, part of the design may be missing, while the remaining design appears shifted toward one side. Collectors also look for broad strikes, where the coin spreads outward because it was struck without the collar that normally shapes its edges. These coins appear slightly wider than normal and often have distorted rims. Even more unusual are coins struck on the wrong metal planchet. A planchet is the blank piece of metal that becomes a coin during the striking process. Sometimes a blank intended for a different denomination accidentally enters the press. When that happens, the resulting coin can have the wrong weight, color, or size. Because of possibilities like these, experienced collectors inspect coins from every year very carefully, including coins that look worn or ordinary. Some rare 1985 D Washington quarter era coins **** have surprised collectors with impressive prices at auctions and collector markets. Dramatic mint error examples have been known to reach $28,000, $74,000, and in extremely rare situations even $145,000 depending on the rarity of the error and the quality of the coin. These numbers may sound unbelievable for a coin worth only 25 cents in everyday spending. But in the world of coin collecting, rarity and historical interest can transform ordinary coins into valuable treasures. Another reason collectors pay attention to coins like this is the simple fact that many people overlook them. Heavily circulated coins often end up back in circulation again and again because people assume they have no special value. Yet sometimes a rare variety can hide in plain sight. Imagine someone sorting through a jar of old change or checking coins from a family collection. Among hundreds of ordinary quarters, one coin might contain a small but important detail, a doubled letter, an unusual strike, or a rare production error. Discoveries like that have happened many times in the past, and they continue to happen today. The 1985 Washington quarter with the D mint mark may not look impressive at first glance. It is scratched, worn, and far removed from the brilliant condition it once had when it left the Denver Mint decades ago. Yet it still carries a quiet history within its metal. This coin may have been used to buy groceries, pay for a bus ride, or drop into a vending machine. It may have passed through thousands of hands over the years. Each mark and scratch is part of the journey it has taken through everyday life. Coins like this remind us that history is not always found in museums or locked away in vaults. Sometimes it travels silently in our pockets, unnoticed and unappreciated. And somewhere among the millions of quarters produced in 1985, a few rare survivors still exist. Coins with unusual minting errors or exceptional preservation that can surprise collectors with values reaching well into the 5-figure and even 6-figure range. That possibility is what keeps collectors searching, studying, and examining even the most ordinary-looking coins.